And so as an adult, we get to come into self-empowerment where we can overcome those dynamics from our parents by acknowledging that yes, our parents contributed towards those dynamics, and now I am an adult and I can change that story once and for all, because we are really, truly, inherently, on a fundamental level, worthy of having our needs met. And they are so important. And it is so important for us to be able to do that for ourselves. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to my channel, in which we speak about self-mastery in service of living the best life. And in today's video, I will be speaking about sovereignty. How can we be sovereign? How can we stay within our frame? Because when we are able to do this, we are able to be our truest and most authentic self. We feel safe to truly be ourselves and to shine our light in the most beautiful and brightest way for others to be able to receive our light as well. So in this journey of sovereignty, staying within our frame, I came to realize that growing up with parents who were quite controlling and didn't always take my needs into account, especially on an emotional level, it was challenging for me to really form proper boundaries, to really actually, first of all, understand my own needs, because I was taught that other people's needs were more important than my needs. So I struggled to form boundaries, to understand my needs, and also to vocalize them, to feel safe to vocalize my needs. Because boundaries is related to being able to share our needs. When we aren't able to share our needs, we are opening ourselves up to other people's needs being more important. Therefore, we do not have boundaries in place. So that was one of the first things that I realized when I had a beautiful, beautiful coaching session, and we went through, it just came up. This sense around boundaries or lack of them came up in the coaching session. And so I tapped into my own energy field. I wanted to feel where my boundaries were within my energy. And I quickly realized that I couldn't perceive them at all. I just felt like my energy was like spreading into foreverness. And while that is true to some extent, because we are all connected, so we are all one, we are all experiencing one energy together, and we are also individual waves in that big sea of energy, right? And as individual waves, we also get to have our own form and our own boundaries around that form. So I tapped into this lack of any sort of boundaries that I could perceive in my energy field. I thought, whoa, okay, that's good to know. And from there, I could go on this exploration of, okay, how do I even do this? How do I even form good boundaries? And so my first awareness was around feeling safe to share my needs with my partner first and foremost. And because that is a person that I feel the safest with in my life. And this can look different for you. This might be your best friend. This might be a family member. Whoever is closest to you, this is where it will be beautiful to really practice this new way of being first. And so the practice is, first and foremost, to understand your own needs, to really get clear on what are actually my needs, because it could be that for the majority of your life, you thought your needs were other people's needs. And so you were outsourcing your needs to other people because that's how you kept safe as a child, right? So first of all, get curious, go inside yourself, understand within your own being, what do I want? What is important to me? What are my needs? What do I, within myself, need in this moment in my life? What is the general picture of what is important to me and what my needs are? And so once this exploration has done, it will be time to share those needs with that person who's closest to you, right? So understanding them first within yourself, and then being bold and courageous to step outside that comfort zone, because it will be uncomfortable initially. And this is how it was for me. I remember how I felt this vulnerability. I felt so vulnerable. I felt so, like I could be hurt, because in the past I had been hurt when I shared my needs. So as I started sharing, I felt this vulnerability. It was like, oh my God, is something bad gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And yes, sometimes there will be pushback, because the old programming within us will create a reality where that person will be like, what are you talking about? Or whatever it is, and not acknowledge your needs and not accept them. However, that won't always be the case. There will be times where that loved one will see you and will accept your needs and will cherish you for sharing them. Because on this journey of self-love, loving yourself ultimately will help others to love you too. It all starts within. So when you love yourself to the point where you feel safe to share your needs with that person who you are closest with initially, from that place of love, that person will love you for that as well. And they will love the fact that you are being more true to yourself, that you are shining more of your true essence. And so what actually happened on my journey with my partner was, the more I felt bold to share my truth, to share my needs, to share what I believe in, what I believe is important, how I feel, what I want, it actually helped him in an incredible and beautiful way. It helped him to step up in his life, because there were dynamics that were happening that were unhealthy. For example, I was taking care of most of the housework. And so me being comfortable to share my needs on this level allowed him to understand that there needs to be more balance. I get to step up here more in this area. And so it was more fulfilling for both of us, because we were both contributing in a healthier and more nourishing way. And then after kind of on a physical level, I got more on an emotional level, sharing my needs on an emotional level. What do I need? I need him to hold me sometimes. I need to be able to share how I feel without it being about him. It needs to be about me, because I was so used to being the one always holding space for him or for others, that it was even hard for me to create that space within speaking with others, allowing myself to be heard and to be vulnerable and to be the weak one. Maybe that's a bit of a judgmental way of saying it, but yeah, the one who is more vulnerable in that moment, who needs more support, right? And that's when it felt really quite uncomfortable on an energetic level. And I remember I felt this sort of expansion as I was stepping into this new way of being able to share those needs. And it felt like this expansion was very tender. And so I kept on doing it with the awareness that I'm aware that this feels super uncomfortable and I feel tender right now, and I get to go at my own pace, and I'm not going to stop. This is my new way now. I am worthy of having my needs met. This is an essential thing that we can have as human beings, is having our needs met. And not always being the one to compromise, not always being the one to say, my needs are less important than yours, so let me just take care of that, or let me hold space for you, or let me be the one to hold you. It's not healthy for us to always be the one to hold, because we get great joy out of holding space for others, and others do the same for us. So by us always being the one who feels like we have to be strong and hold space for others, be there on an emotional level for them, we are taking away the gift of them being able to give that back to us, of them being able to hold space for us, give us advice, or whatever we might need in that moment, to have somebody else be strong for us and to hold us and to share our feelings and emotions, especially the denser ones, in a way where we are being held by another. And so as we progress on this journey of sharing our needs, on whichever level it may be, physical level, spiritual, emotional, mental, we come more and more into safety of sharing our needs. So yes, it may start with somebody who's really close with us, and then we get to start practicing it with those other people. And for me, especially practicing it with a parent or parents has been absolutely beautiful, because they were part of the people who initially created that dynamic where I didn't feel safe in the first place. And so as an adult, we get to come into self-empowerment where we can overcome those dynamics from our parents by acknowledging that, yes, our parents contributed towards those dynamics, and now I am an adult and I can change that story once and for all. And so it is beautiful, because once we then start doing it with those people who instilled those patterns within us in the first place, we feel so empowered. We feel so much honor for ourselves, because we aren't allowing those stories of limitations, of playing small, we aren't allowing them to carry forward any longer. It is time to rewrite them and to allow ourselves to be in that beautiful state of worthiness to be myself, to share myself in the way that I want, to have my needs met, to share how I truly feel and be loved and accepted for it. Because nobody else can create that dynamic for us. It is only us who can do that for ourselves. And there are more things to share on this boundaries journey, because it's a big one and it's an important one. And so one more thing that I will share is that we want to get to a point where we have these boundaries in place. And I also want to acknowledge that having good boundaries doesn't mean that our needs are met every single time. There will be times when maybe it is more important for the other person to have their needs met. However, us being able to share our needs in a safe way can be enough. They don't always necessarily then have to be met. However, us just simply being able to say, I need that, that's important to me, and the other person saying, I'm sorry, I can't give that to you right now, that is already so, so powerful to just feel safe and heard. And oftentimes they will be met, and that feels beautiful too, of course, because we are really, truly, inherently, on a fundamental level, worthy of having our needs met. And they are so important. And it is so important for us to be able to do that for ourselves. So the one last thing is that we want to get to a point where we have these beautiful boundaries by vocalizing our needs, by perceiving our energetic boundaries, by staying in our frame, by not changing ourselves for another. Because it's not only about needs, it's also about people pleasing, right? And about feeling like I have to change myself in order to please another person, which, I mean, it is related to needs as well, because on a fundamental level, I need to be able to be myself, and I need to feel safe to be able to be myself. And so that is a fundamental need that gets to be honored. So letting go of those tendencies, part of the journey, And being safe within our frame, and at the same time, also being able to be open. This is where it's really at, because sometimes we might feel like having good boundaries means closing down our heart. It means protecting. And that is the old mechanism. That is the old safety mechanism that we may have developed as children. If somebody was coming at us with their needs and our needs weren't being respected, then we may have shut down our heart to protect ourselves. And that is not having good boundaries. That is a self-preservation and protection mechanism that we get to let go now. Because when we have these beautiful boundaries in place, when we remain within our frame, there is no need for us to shut down our heart, because this outer protection is doing the job for us. So it's almost like a filter. These boundaries can filter other people's energy. So when somebody is, for example, coming with, I don't agree, this is how I feel, this is important to me, this is my beliefs, and they're really coming at us with their way of thinking and imposing that way onto us. When we have those boundaries in place, saying, I am worthy of having my beliefs, I have my own beliefs that get to be honored, and I get to vocalize them, or even just feeling into those energetically. They don't always have to maybe be vocalized, but vocalizing truly is the most powerful way of continuously establishing those boundaries. So when that person is coming at us, what we can do is have those boundaries in place, and then it filters their energy. So instead of then this dense energy hitting us really hard because we don't have those boundaries and we're just completely open and all of that energy is coming inside us, and it's like, oh, I wasn't ready for this. I didn't want that person's dense energy in that way. Why am I now feeding into this dense energy? When we have these boundaries in place through our practice, we don't even allow that dense energy to get inside. They may say those things. They may be throwing that energy at us, and it just bounces right off our boundaries. It doesn't touch us within. And there will be times where, for whatever reason, we're still in our old mode, so we don't have those boundaries up. And so that energy does come inside our field and it does hit us, and we might be shutting down our heart. And that's okay. What's important is to have the awareness of what is happening. And so we get to stay aware, we get to realize, oh, I've been shutting down my heart. I feel less love for that person now. And I just want to now protect myself and defend myself, and I don't feel like I can meet them anymore. What's going on here? We can do a self-inquiry. And then the way that we can rectify this when this happens is either, if we're not strong enough in the moment to say how we feel, we can say it afterwards. We can say the next time we see that person, we can say, oh, by the way, when you were sharing about that, I didn't agree with that. And that's okay to not agree. And that's how we can then later on establish our boundaries after the event, and that still helps solidify them. Or next time that happens, we can be more aware and we can think to ourselves, oh, that thing is happening again. Let me share now. Let me share that I don't agree with that way of thinking, and it's okay that we don't agree. Or bring in your viewpoint, bring in what you truly feel and believe around what that person is sharing. Because that is also a way for you to bring your essence, yourself, your truth, and to really continue having those boundaries. So there's a few little bits there for you to digest, for you to test out, for you to experiment and explore, because ultimately it is such a beautiful state of being when we feel safe within ourselves, which comes from having these good boundaries and being able to remain open and connected on a loving level with others. We are here to come together in a way that is beneficial for us as individuals and for the whole collective. It is time now for us to be able to understand that we are not the same. We are not so. We have different ways of thinking. We have different ways of feeling. We have different ways of perceiving. And it's beautiful to hear each other's perspectives from an open and loving place. We don't need to shut down when people have other perspectives. We can be strong to really allow ourselves to be in our truth, to be in what we believe to be the best, and to be open to other people's truth and to what they believe is best, and coming together in a loving and harmonious way while holding different perspectives. It is 100% possible, and it is a beautiful way of coming together with others. So, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if you got value from it, and do subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments what has been your journey with boundaries and what is resonating with you the most out of what has been shared today. And I super look forward to seeing you in the next video.